Welcome back, my friends. Hope everybody's doing well. Today we're going to be reloading some .308 Winchester using Hodgdon 700X. Some cast projectiles here sent in by a viewer, Johnny1982. Thanks again, brother. Finally getting into these. Super excited to check these out. So we've got some old Lake City 66 brass here. This stuff is almost, 56 years old right now. That's pretty sweet. Winchester primers. I'm pretty sure it's only once fired, but we're sized and prepped and everything. All we have to do is expand these a little bit just so we can fit our cast bullets into it without scraping off the powder coat or anything, that is. So we're going to jump in, start expanding our cases here, and then we'll add our powder and go from there. So we're just using the Lee Universal Case Expanding Die. Works like a charm. It's pretty versatile. I've used it for pretty much everything I reload cast bullets for, and it works just fine. So if any of you guys are new to reloading and you're questioning why we need to expand a rifle round, well, here's our cast bullet, which is over the .308 diameter that would normally fit into this case. And we have to open that up just enough to get that gas check to get started in there. And then that way we're not going to be scraping off any of our powder coating, which could lead to leading and, bad accuracy and so on and so forth. So we're almost there. I'm going to open it up just a little bit more here. And we should be able to get these in there with no problem. That feels a little better. Try another one before we just start running through them here. But when your cases are all trimmed the exact same and prepped and all that, you don't have to worry about any variances between the amount of flare you get. Whereas if your case is any longer, it's going to get more bell. If your case is shorter, it won't get enough, so you'll get scraping on those. And the ones that are belled out too much, you're just going to be overworking those cases and they're going to end up splitting sooner. So I think that's sufficient. You can see our gas check fits right in there, and we don't have quite the blunderbuss you hear about, but just enough to get going there. So let's go ahead and run through these real quick, and I'll get back with you in a second. All right, we're on our last few here, and then we'll get into our powder charges and how we're going to be doing all that fun stuff. Once again, we're going to be using Hodgdon 700X, but let's get rid of this die here. We'll get out the seating die, we'll get that set up. We'll get our powder thrower ready to go. Let's do it. All right, before we end up getting this any further in there, I'm going to put an empty case up here, and we're going to lower this until I feel contact. That's where our crimp is, and then we're going to come out about a half a turn from there. So we're going to seat all of our bullets first, and then we'll crimp afterwards. So seating die is almost set up. We'll back this out a whole bunch, and we'll get our powder thrower set up, and then we'll dial in our very first one here. Okay, but wait, first we need to look at our load data before we start trying to dial in our powder measure and all that crap. So what are we actually working with? So right now this is an MP hollow point mold. Comes out at 153 grains with our gas check. And then over here we have an RCBS mold at 177 grains with the gas check installed. So it took some digging, but there is data available for 700X for pretty much every single thing I reload for. You just have to do some digging. And this is going to be in the Lyman's Cast Handbook 3rd edition from like the 80s. But they list things all the way down at 150 grains, all the way up to almost 200 or something, but I don't have those molds, so I didn't list them here. But 153 grains, that'll fit right here at 9 to 12 grains or up to 11.5. I'll probably do maybe 10 for that because I don't want to push them super hot or anything. I just want to kind of play around. And then up at 178 grains, they list 8 to 11.5 grains of powder. So I think, you know, if we did maybe 10 grains there as well. So if we just set our Uniflow to throw 10 grains, that'll be a nice medium charge for both of these. And I think that'll do us well. But yeah, I suggest scouring the internet for that manual. It is free when you find it. It's not hard to get to if you know how to Google stuff. But I found data for 308, found a bunch of 9mm data. We've got all this 38 special data. We got data for 45 long Colt, as well as the higher pressure Contender and Ruger data as well, so that's pretty cool. We found some information for 223 Remington, and since it is a very fast burning powder, they only list very, very light bullets, but the ones that I cast come out at 52 grains, so this is perfect. And then along with the 45 Colt, we can do 45 Cowboy Special using 45 ACP data. So with 700X in that old Lyman manual, they list 185 grains up to 225 grain bullets, right around 4 grains there. So again, do your own research and you'll be able to use lots of older powders and different powders for things you didn't know you could if you go and look for that data. Actually, if you look at my website, I haven't updated in over a year. The only article on there tells you where to find that manual, so go and check that out. Dummyaroundreloading.com. So anyways, Hodgdon 700X, very, very bulky powder. It's a flake. It doesn't flow with the best metering capabilities, but it works pretty well in the Uniflow. It might get hung up 1 out of 10 times, but it still throws maybe within 2/10, I would say, which is pretty consistent, and it's good enough for what we're doing here today. If I really cared that much to get it exactly, I would do it and trickle up by hand, but we're just going to be plinking and having some fun around with these light loads here. So 700X, one of my favorites for reduced rifle loads. So our Uniflow here is throwing very consistently, a steady 10 grains on the dot with a 10 throw average. Very impressive for a big bulky flaky powder. Anyways, we're gonna go ahead and throw all 50 of these at once. I hope I don't drop the tray, and then we'll just move on with seeding our bullets all at once. Actually, that sounds like a horrible idea. Let me do the first 25 and then we'll switch bullets and go from there. So we got our first 25 thrown here. You can see I had a little bit of lubrication still on the neck there from processing them. A little bit of stuck powder, but that's not the end of the world. I'm gonna get a Q-tip and clean that up, and then we'll get on with seeding. All right, so we're seeding our bullets here, the first 25 of them. This is the MP 153 grain hollow point. And this Hornady American Series die they don't make anymore. It's actually doing a really good job on the tip of the bullets here. It's not actually caving in that hollow point at all, so very impressive. And we're right at the top of that groove, and then we're going to do a slight taper crimp into that once we get them all seated here. And you see I switched reloading blocks, and by reloading blocks I mean this was from the freaking trash at the range. Found this in the garbage can and it had the little tray in it, but it works better than this stupid RCBS tray where they all shake around, and it only has 80 slots. And these 308 cases don't even fit in there regardless of whatever. And if you do it how they have it numbered, you only have half the spots because you're supposed to move them over and know what step of the process you're in, and that stuff really annoying. Anyways, we got the freebie here doing better than the expensive factory option. So if you need a few loading trays, make sure to pick all that up from the range. I keep them around for brass prep. These 9mm trays work awesome for 223, you know, 300 blackout, legend, all that stuff. So keep these around. They're nice tools to have. And then, you know, you can spray these with your one shot or lanolin or whatever and not worry about it getting all gunky and gooey when you're doing your powder and stuff. So pretty cool. Keep these around. So let's go ahead and get these seated real quick, and then we'll move on to our next projectile. Okay, I'm gonna go back to the stupid loading block, and we're gonna wipe these necks out and make sure nothing's sticky on there, so our powder will more smoothly fall up in there like it's supposed to. Looks a little dirty. And that's a good reason to tumble after brass prep. All right, we're gonna throw powder, see if any of it sticks inside of our neck. So it looks like we still had a bit of that powder sticking in our case necks. I don't know if it's just static or because the flakes are so light, but it's really not that big of a deal. It's only a few of them, and we'll go ahead and get to seating our bullets before we seat our bullets here. And finally, seating our bullets here. And since we're changing bullets, we actually need to come way out here on our stem. Just break that nut loose. And we'll spill that powder and re-pour it. Okay, that was fun. Try this again. Alright, I don't actually know where we're going to be seating this. I think I'm just going to come right at the top of this band here and then just barely taper crimp to remove our flare, not actually to crimp into the bullet. So let's go a little deeper here and that'll probably be good. And before I mangle that one, we'll just switch and keep going down the line while we get this dialed in. And then we can hit them all a second time to make sure they're actually where we need them. And by all, I just mean the ones I used while dialing it in. So now we're closer. Go another, maybe a 1/10 of a turn or something. That's real close. I think that's going to suffice for us. So let me rerun the ones we've already done. We'll hit those again just to make sure they're at the same depth. And then we'll run through the rest here and move on to crimping once we get everything seated at once. And then just to lock in our die at that setting, run it back up so it's not going to spin when you tighten it. And now everything should follow that setting. And if we wanted to take notes, our seating depth is 2.669 overall length. Cool, no big deal. That'll fit right in our magazine with a 2.8 inch overall length. No problem. So we'll call this our good one. We'll hit these again and then run through the rest real quick. All right, let me get back with you when we're gonna crimp. So as you see, no scraping of the powder coating, all of that went very smoothly, and that was just with the minimum amount of expansion. Again, you don't want to overdo that because now we're going to crimp that back up, and we want to move that brass as little as possible to get the task accomplished. Any extra, either crimping or expanding, and you're just working your brass more than you need to, and that'll lead to splits and cracks prematurely. And no one likes cracking prematurely. Cool, so we've got everything seated here, and now we're going to reset our die to crimp rather than seating. So I'm going to make sure to unlock this so we can pull our seating stem way out and not be affecting our bullets while we're crimping on the body. So open that up, and we'll back him out about 8 miles or so. And now we're going to work with the die body here. We'll have to move up our lock ring a bit. Bring this out as well, run the whole thing up, and now we're going to move the body down until we find contact. Boom, we got her. And now lower your ram, give about an 1/8 of a turn, and we'll give it a test. Ooh, that was it. And so the goal here is to do as little work as possible on that brass. So let's take our case gauge here and see if that'll work for us. Aside from being gooey and sticky, there it is. It moves freely now. I'm gonna give it just a smidgen more. We'll try another one here. That one looks good, and I can no longer feel that lip where it was flared out. Plunks right in and right out. Very nice. Cool beans. Set this over in the done block. Rerun this first one. Now we're going to make sure our lock ring is set for the rest. And again, make sure our seating stem's nowhere near. Let's see how far out we were. Yeah, a good turn or two and you'll be good to go. Let's go ahead and crimp the rest of these. And we'll spot check the first couple coming in and out here. And then along the way, you like to spot check a few as well. And this just lets you know that it'll chamber. You'll be able to close your bolt. Your rifle's gonna like it. Very nice. And if these are tight, it's because they're 0.02 over standard bullet diameter. These are 310, maybe 310.5 on my notes from old Johnny. So cool, looks like that crimp setting is gonna work just fine. We'll go ahead and cruise right through these, and I'll get with you on the hollow points and we'll see how those want to act for us. Okay, we're gonna try our hollow points. Let's see if it'll plunk. I'm able to push into it. It's not quite flush there on the headspace checker. Maybe if we push real hard, but anyways, that's gonna be a troubled case if we're gonna try and chamber that. So let's crimp the heck out of them. And by the heck out of them, I mean just get rid of that flare so that we can do this. Boom, right in, right out, no problem. So yeah, I won't let you be tortured by this whole process. I'll get back with you here when we're done. And check our last round. Boom, right in and right out. Not a problem at all. Dang, don't them hollow points purty, I'll tell you what, boy. Thanks again to Mr. Johnny1982 for the awesome projectiles. And our last step is to just get all these in our case and finally get out to the range. And finally we will date this. All right, we'll see you out at the range, folks. And we are back from the range. So you'll see we only took a total of 15 shots here. It was cold as balls, fellers, I tell you what. 30 degrees, wind howling right through you. Anyways, we froze, didn't have a chronograph. I shot that on accident, so that'll be a story for another time. But anyways, we'll jump right in. We started with 5 rounds with a hollow point. That's the MP mold, 153 grains with our 10 grain charge. And we have these 4 right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1 low of that little group. Very impressed here. So let's go ahead and take a quick measurement. I have them zeroed at about 0.308, which is roughly the diameter of the bullet. And from outside to outside after that, we're down around 0.8, 0.9 inches or so. That's pretty good for a cast bullet at 50 yards. And again, I don't have the chronograph. I'm guessing they're moving roughly 16 to 1800 feet per second. Just total speculation based on the super old Lyman manual. Brass looks just fine. Super rounded primers. Nothing on the case head. Had a nice clean burn. No unburnt powder. Sealed around the neck very well. The brass looks good. You could probably fire that several times with your Lee loader, just neck sizing it because your case isn't going to stretch a whole lot. So you could probably get a couple firings out of that before having to full length size and trim and do all that nonsense. If you had this kind of stuff out in the apocalypse or something fun like that. Anyways, very impressed. Under an inch at 50 yards, 5 shots there. And you're like, wow. Well, you have 10 shots taken, so where are those? We'll get to those in a second. But anyways, on to the RCBS. These were 177 grains. With fee. Yep, this was the RCBS here. Again, nice clean burn. No pressure signs on any of our brass. Case heads look great. Nice round primers. No issues on the brass at all, like I said. There was this one here where I think it is just seated out a little bit further. So it didn't quite make it into the chamber. It was hitting the rifling before I was able to close the bolts, so I had to abort on that. I could probably seat it a little bit deeper, but we have crimped a little bit, so that might scratch up some of the coating. I don't know. I might touch it up with the seating die at some point, but for now, meh. Anyways, back to the RCBS. We have 4 shots here and then 1 just out to the left there. And very similar group size here, just under an inch, maybe 0.9 or just at 1 inch exactly there. And then over here, maybe 0.8, 0.9. Very good results. And we can see this bullet's a little bit heavier using the same charge of powder, so it's going to be just a bit lower. I was aiming here and here, of course, so here's our points of impact. And this was a little heavier, 24 grains heavier there. But dang, they flew very nice. The hollow point did make a nicer impact on the paper. And then you can see those just kind of poked through. And now on to these final 5 we took with the hollow point. So this cardboard backer was up from last week we were there. There was 10 shots or whatever. It's about 2 inches with my 223 bolt gun. There's 5 shots on that little guy, you know, maybe 1.5 inches or whatever. So at 100 yards, for a 30 caliber cast bullet, this is freaking incredible. Again, we're zeroed at 309-ish, and that is just over an inch, maybe 1.2, and we have 4 of them there under an inch at 100 yards. My point of aim here, I was dead center with this blue tape, and then I used this little vertical stringing as a little placeholder for the center crosshair. So I'm holding dead center right here, and this is our point of impact at 100. This is impressive, holy moly. Wow, yeah, just like 1.2-ish. And then those 4 down into 0.9. Freaking incredible. Excellent craftsmanship, Mr. Johnny. Great work. And if any of you guys are on the fence about getting an MP mold, there you go. There's the results with the gas check and proper love and care. And if sometimes you can do your part shooting, I might have got lucky today, but wow, this is impressive to me for a cast bullet. Good stuff today. So if that doesn't sell you on cast bullets and a rifle, I don't know, man. If that doesn't sell you on 700X in a rifle with reduced loads, I don't know, man. But like I said, I'm super impressed. This is very cool. I have a roughly 160 grain bullet that I cast a lot of, super similar shape to these. I've never actually loaded them, but maybe I can reproduce some of this with my cast bullets when I run out of Johnny's. But yeah, anyways, we're gonna wrap it up. I might try and seat this one a little bit deeper, and we'll take them out once I get a chronograph again, since I shot that one. But thanks for hanging out, guys. We will see you next time.